Hello, welcome to Creative Matthew. This is going to be a simple one where we're pretty much just going to show you how to do some simple bubbles. A soap bubble and then a bubble that you'd see if it was just naturally inside the water, not one that has soap or anything in it. Main difference is just color, and the one that's already in water, you're not going to get the same reflections that you will with a soap bubble that's floating around. Though I'm not going to show you the reflections. You can pretty much figure that out by just looking at some reference. It's pretty much like just think of a glass sphere and how that reflects, and just make it more transparent type situation. But anyway, so let's get started. First, we're gonna do the regular bubble. Make it nice and big. And now bubbles aren't, as you can tell, are fairly transparent. So we're gonna fill this in with something bluish, but we're gonna make it transparent. So I have my bucket tool which fills it. I turned on the opacity to 17.3. Now I'm going to choose kind of a bluish color. Now over here they're showing where you can lock the alpha channel. Alpha means the transparency, how opaque to transparent. Opaque meaning like a solid wall. A brick wall is opaque. A window is transparent. The window's not perfectly transparent. It's probably 98% transparent. But this thing is, we're making this thing pretty transparent, but not completely. And so we have the base. Now, if you look at reference, there's reflections on the outside of it and stuff like that. There's nice sheen and nice little highlights and stuff. But we're going to start with just adding some more variation in the blue around the edges to represent the reflection. I'm going to turn down my opacity so it's not complete. Oops, I still have it set to apply jitter. I'm starting by locking the alpha so that it's alpha, as I said, is how transparent or opaque. By locking it, whatever it's already at, it won't change wherever I painted. So right here, the alpha is 0. I can't paint there, even if I unselected it. But even when I paint inside of this, even if I have my brush set to 100% opacity, it's still only going to give it however much transparency it already has. It won't do it anymore. Does mean that you don't get quite the same colors that you want, but that's why I come in afterwards and making it more by turning off alpha. Now I'm going to have it more solid. Since this one's just the regular bubble, it's mainly just a bunch of different blues and stuff. And just working way more and more solid and opaque. And softening up the edges using the smudge tool. Smudge tool you can work to blend if you use a softer brush. If you use the hard round that Adobe comes with Adobe, it doesn't really smudge very well. It's more solid. You can use it to your advantage though if you want, but if you want to blend, you use a soft brush for it. And you can change the hardness of different brushes, at least in GIMP. I'm assuming you can in Photoshop. This is program I'm using is GIMP. And it's going for strong highlights. And there's that one. I actually just keep the selection and I'll just hide that, go to my layer below it, and now we'll be doing the more soapy bubble, which if you look at those things, they can be different colors and stuff like that. They reflect, since you're usually doing them outside, or at least, or maybe even the sink or something, but if you want to do it like an outside bubble or somebody's blowing bubbles, I mean, I reference a image where one has a nice bright yellow around the outside with some purples inside. Another one is very reflective of the atmosphere, and it has a pinkish outside, and then you see actual branches with leaves, and the land part's a little bit dark. It's not really green, but the leaves are nice and green and stuff. So you can add as much detail or as little as you want. If you just want the general idea, then I just like to do this, and I'll show you where I'm just painting colors on the outside, but I like to make the inside still more blue, and then I start painting the colors around it. Add a little bit of green, especially if it's representing some land. I'm just giving the general idea. I'm not trying to make it look like a photo by any means. That takes a lot more time. Some yellow on the outside. And now do the nice highlighter areas. And the reference is you don't see a whole lot of white. You just see kind of areas that are more bright, but still add. Missing still more yellowish. And then use this tool, this smudge tool with a soft brush to kind of blend it together. And there's going to be my soap bubble. Make this a little bit stronger. And then blend it a little bit. And there's the more soapy bubble. I'm actually probably going to add some more coloring into it. Soap bubble, regular bubble, and these are just very basic. They're not. If you look at reference photos, you can see some really high detail in some of these things and stuff. But for something that reads as a bubble, you really don't need a whole lot. So there we go. This is just a quick little video. Well, I guess I can show you one little extra part. To do that, let's actually shrink these things down. In Photoshop, you can create brushes, but I don't know if you can do it with color things. I know with GIMP, if you copy something, it automatically turns it into a brush, but it can't be bigger than a certain size. So you have to shrink it down. So I'll shrink these two things down. And you also notice that actually helps make it a little bit better, because all that detail is being shrunken down to a better. You add all the details a nice big, then when you shrink it down, it makes those micro details almost. But anyway, so let's take this one. First, let's do this. Select around it, and then invert selection. Copy. Let's make a new layer to put these bubbles on. We'll call it bubbles. And then we'll go to the brush setting that's copied. Turn up spacing, apply jitter, and you have bubbles. Now my brush settings, if you change that, you can make it so that it does random angles, so that way it's not all one angle. So you can do it to have it be, you can even probably do it with an aspect ratio. At least in GIMP you can. I don't know if you can with Photoshop. Aspect ratio pretty much will squish it one way or another. But for bubbles they're usually round, so you want to kind of keep it round. So that's that one. Let's take this one. First let's do this. Take this one, invert selection, copy. This actually added another one. We've got more bubbles. And we'll hide that one. Hide that. And now you have the more water ones. Like you do this if it was in the middle of the water. If you're trying to do a scene where they're under the water, whether it be a swimming pool or in the ocean. And again, you can make it more detailed, less detailed. The key is just getting that filling across, and like based on your scene, if you're doing a scene where you're trying to make it where the scene is going to be realistic, like it's a person acting in a scene, and you're trying to make some bubbles, then again you do that CG wise. You wouldn't do this here. So I guess if you're doing a Photoshop, I guess this would be a better way to say it. If you're in Photoshop and you need to take this picture and make them look like they're underwater, then you're going to want to take some more time to make the bubbles a little bit more realistic. Especially the soap bubbles. But anyway, this is Creative Matthew. This is going to be a short video, as I said. Thanks for spending a little bit of time watching this. And if you like, then subscribe, like, you know the drill. Lots of people on YouTube nowadays. So, anyway, thank you very much. And I'm signing off. Bye-bye.